of the things that you have become as a national figure for your ideas, as well as for your work in the technological world. Are you seeing more interest you have in governments looking to people like you, public intellectuals, to bring in for advice, even if you're not interested in politics yourself?
Sure.
And perhaps I should ask you if you have a political future, because you're still young.
Sure. Well, I think there's no question that governments have become far more open to ideas from the outside, because everybody is looking for, I mean, they're all under huge pressure to deliver results, and they're open to any ideas. And I've been particularly fortunate in areas like education and urbanization. A lot of the ideas that I talk about are accepted. And I think to some extent my role model here is American businessmen who also were in some sense public intellectuals. Mm-hmm. I mean, Carnegie himself mm-hmm. did a lot for education in the US, the libraries, and what he did for the universities. But even someone like Edward Filene, who was, while running a retail chain in Boston, also played a role in setting up US credit societies and the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 for Franklin Roosevelt. So, there are, Eugene Mayer, who went from the Washington Post to the World Bank. So there are many examples in this country of people who did both public service and business. So I see that as a role model for me, not necessarily a full political role, but a role of ideas. So I think India is absolutely open to ideas from everybody.
And the other thing that's happening now, and not just now because it's always been there, is Indian philanthropy coming from the private sector. Again, similar to what we've had here. I know that the Tatas were ahead of the Ford Foundation in establishing some of their institutes and so on early on. Yeah. And I think there's much more of this now. You, your wife, others have been involved in philanthropy.
I think one of the lessons I think about philanthropy that you realize is that to have philanthropists, first you need to create wealth so that they can do something about it. And also it helps if you're a first generation entrepreneur, because I began, my father was a middle class person, so I didn't begin my life with much money, and I made money because of my business, and therefore it's my money, I can choose to give it away. Whereas if it's inherited money, then it's a lot more difficult to give it away, because then you need to conserve it. So I think entrepreneurship and philanthropy are linked. Of course, we don't yet see the philanthropy of the scale the US had in the early 20th century. You don't see the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and the Fords and the Filenes. But it is beginning to happen. I'm hoping that more and more of the Indian rich will become more generous for social causes. And the Tatas are a fantastic role model, because they began the philanthropy 100 years back. In fact, the Indian Institute of Science, which was set up in Bangalore, was set up by a huge donation from Jamshedji Tata. And so I think they're a great role model for the rest of us in India on philanthropy.